after the webinar so you can share with your colleagues. Secondly, we will be opening for Q&A at the end. You will be able to type questions into the box on your right, and we will take as many questions as we have time for before the hour is up. And finally, if you hear anything interesting that you would like to share with your networks on Twitter, please tag at Women's World Banking, BNKG, with the hashtag MarketingMI. You'll see that on the slide there. My name is Karen Miller, and I am the Chief Knowledge and Communications Officer at Women's World Banking, and will be moderating today's discussion. Insurance is very complex. No matter what market you are in, consumers' understanding of insurance can be low. Today we're going to hear from our panelists who will discuss how consumer insights drives the development of marketing materials that help educate consumers on the value of an insurance product. I'd like to introduce our panelists today. First, here in New York, we have Kathleen Tobin, Director of Product Development at Women's World Banking, where she's responsible for our team's market research and marketing and financial education programs. And secondly, we're thrilled to have with us Fadi Al-Tawabini from Amman, Jordan, Marketing and Business Development Manager from Microfund for Women. For those of you not familiar with Women's World Banking, we are the global nonprofit devoted to giving more low-income women access to the financial products and services they need to achieve security and prosperity. We work with 38 institutions in 28 countries to provide insurance, savings, and credit products that low-income women need. Fundamental to the work that we do is that deep understanding of our clients' needs, and as markets as diverse as India to Paraguay. And it's this deep understanding of our clients that allow us not only to build the right type of financial product, but also the marketing and financial education materials to support that product. And that is what we're going to focus on today. So first, we're so pleased to have Fadi with us today from Microfund for Women. With Microfund for Women, we launched our first Caregiver hospital cash policy in 2010. Fadi, could you give us a brief description of the Caregiver product before we go into the insights that you uncovered during the research process?
Yeah, thank you, Karen, thank you, Kathleen. I'm really glad to be with you in this webinar. Just to give you a brief about the Caregiver, it's a hospital cash product, very simple, whereby the client will be eligible to receive a compensation per each night spent at the hospital for hospitalization. And it's a mandatory product, and that's it. It's very simple, very basic, without any exclusions, except the general exclusions, and no pre-medical exams are required, no, nothing is required. The process of the product itself is very easy. It's accessible for clients. They only need to bring us the discharge report, which includes the admission date, discharge date, and the diagnostic, and that's it. They can apply for the claim. They can report the claim in the branch, and the second day they will receive the check with the compensation.
So, Fadi, when you were developing this product, what type of market insights did you uncover during the research process?
Yeah, first of all, actually I was not with Microfund for Women at that time, but as I heard, the product itself was developed based on the in-depth gender research that has been conducted by Women's World Banking and Microfund for Women here in Jordan, our clients, where we learned, or the outcomes of the research shows that women in their life cycle, they have many concerns. One of them was the hospitalization. As you know, most of our clients, they have their home-based projects where they earn their lives day by day. So it was for them a big concern when the client need to be hospitalized for some reason. She preferred not, because she might lose her income for that day. This is the first insight. The second one was also, as I heard, the research started with the loan officers themselves, because our loan officers are hired from the same community, so they have maybe the same challenges, the same circumstances as the clients in their areas, and their input was really very important in developing this product. And we have to keep in mind that in Jordan we have a good public healthcare system. It's not amazing, but comparing with the neighborhood, with the neighbor countries, it is not bad. People can access the public healthcare, but the issue is not to cover the fees of hospitalization. The issue is that the rationale behind offering such a product is to cover the unexpected expenses that raised because of hospitalization, like the lost income, like the transportation, sometimes for medication that's not maybe, it might be covered or not, and might be existing or not in the public hospital pharmacies. So the compensation our clients use to get this compensation to to cover all of these expenses.
So then, based off of that understanding of what clients wanted, what type of product features did you put into Caregiver?
First, the most important feature in the Caregiver product was to cover the maternity and maternity related, because 96% of our clients are female, and more than 69% of them are in productive age. So, and they might deliver twice a year. So they really need this coverage to include the maternity and the delivery for them, because this is the main medication that they will face. It's a must for them to deliver at least one time a year and in a certain period of time, because as I told you, almost 70% of our clients are in productive age. So it's included there. Another thing was the minimal requirements to be enrolled. So we are not asking them to bring any pre-medical exams. And the third thing was that, this segment of people, they lack the insurance culture, and they don't really trust insurance, between brackets. In their culture, what they think is insurance for me, when I give 100, I should get 100. This is the concept of insurance for them. Otherwise, I'm a loser. It was really very important to educate them, to start build the culture on them. However, maybe on later stages, and when we start developing a voluntary product for the family, the take-up ratio was very small, because we still maybe need sometimes to build the culture on them to believe in insurance. So the simplicity of the product, it is very simple, and the coverage are really reasonable for them. When we're talking about $21 US a day, it's more and less the amount that they used to earn every day from their businesses. So we're covering the lost income, and at the end, it helped them to cover these expenses. Instead of maybe selling some of their or using their savings, selling some of their, I don't know if they have jewelries or something like that, to sell it, they will receive the money. So that was the key.
Based off of that, and with that product design, a simple product design, but you have this culture that you're dealing with and a market context, how did you develop the marketing materials?
the marketing materials actually in collaboration with Women's World Banking, they helped us a lot in developing the marketing materials, and I believe that they chose that time the storyboard, the cartoon storyboard, just to make it easy for them. Maybe I can show you one example here on the screen. I don't know if it will be clear for everybody who's seeing us, but it was like a storyboard, just to see.
Yeah, and we have on a slide too, yes.
Yeah, with cartoon. And here it's just like a story. Two ladies are talking to each other, and they are maybe sharing their ideas about the product and what to do, where to go. That was one thing. The other thing which was really exciting for me to learn is that we used to ask them to write down their names on the brochure. However, they will take it with them. You know, I asked at that time our consultant, Amon, I asked him what's the rationale behind asking them to write down their names and sign and then to take the brochure with them. He told me that they will feel that it's important. When they write down their names, they will not throw it out. They will keep it, and one day when they need it, they will they will go back to it and check the information there. We try to make it very simple, direct to the point, no many details there, and it contains the policy. The marketing materials contains the policy. This is the policy. They don't, if you read it, you will understand what is the product, what are you eligible to do, to receive, what you have to do, where to apply, when to apply, everything. So it was very simple, very easy for them, and we used to explain them to the loan officers who are supposed to explain it to the clients at the end.
Great, Fadi, this is really interesting. I think it helped lay the groundwork for the rest of our discussion here. Jordan's such an interesting market with their healthcare, and obviously from the Women's World Banking perspective, Microfund for Women was a great institution to begin our work at Microinsurance. And as is the Women's World Banking model, we introduce a product in one market and then take what we've learned and expand to other markets to reach the largest number of women. And so after this start with Caregiver in Jordan, we then chose 4 very distinct markets to expand to. Amana in Morocco, Finance Trust Bank in Uganda, Lead Foundation in Egypt, and Caja Arequipa in Peru. I'm now going to turn it over to Kathleen here in New York. And Kathleen, I think it would be really interesting to start to lay the groundwork here on how people access healthcare in these very different markets.
Great. Before we go to this slide, actually one big learning that we had from MFW that we've taken to all of our markets, and I know Fadi alluded to it, I just want to make sure it's clear, insurance is so complicated to most people, to everybody almost. And we were able to design a product where the brochure actually is the policy document. And so all exclusions, everything you need to know is on one page. And yes, her name is on there, her ID, and her date. And so it's one simple, very transparent document that was designed with the insurer and with MFW in Jordan. And that has been critical, actually, to the rollout of this product, of a product that's very simple, that can be then replicated in multiple markets. So, great. So then in terms of, adapting the product to different markets, depending on healthcare facilities, the costs of healthcare and incidentals, clients' usage of hospitals, many other variables really depends. It varies from market to market. And when we think of access to healthcare, we think of both proximity and cost. Jordan, for example, is a country with relatively strong national healthcare system. It's financed by the government. So the costs incurred by clients in case of hospitalization are mainly incidental non-medical costs, including loss of income, which is where the hospital cash program provides such a benefit to replace that lost income from a business if the caregiver, the woman, is not able to work. if we could flip to the next slide, in Uganda, I'm going to show a very a stark contrast, a market that is in stark contrast to Uganda. Sorry, to Jordan. In Uganda, for example, what we see there are that hospitals are much less accessible. There's less than 1/2 of a hospital bed per 1,000 people in Uganda versus close to 2 beds per 1,000 people in Jordan. So there's a much lower level of access. And there's also no national health care system. So clients pay for all medical treatments and expenses out of pocket. So it's a very different environment. And when we found, actually, the research has been done that shows that out-of-pocket expenses in Uganda account for almost 49% of total health care expenditures in Uganda. It's a much lower level in Jordan. So anyway, so in total and on average, the split is much different. When we conducted the research for hospital cash in Uganda, we took an interesting case study. We spoke to many people and asked them to tell us their stories. This iceberg slide, we call it the iceberg slide because it represents the hidden costs that people don't actually count when counting the cost of hospitalization. Yeah. We had a client named Kissa who is married with 6 children, and when she came time to deliver her final child, her most recent child, she and her husband spent the first night in a clinic, which is common, hoping for a simple delivery. After one night in the clinic, it became clear that she would need a C-section, and she was referred to a government hospital that was 10 kilometers away, so they had to pay for transportation. When they arrived at the hospital, her husband was asked to purchase the supplies that would be needed for the operation in advance. That's common in Uganda. So we had to buy the gauze, the medicines, the anesthetic, everything, had to purchase in advance from a separate location, bring it back to the hospital. They then spent 4 nights in the hospital. When we asked Kissa about the cost of her hospital, a hospitalization for her child care, she thought immediately of the admission fees, medication, the treatment, hospital materials. Those are the costs that came to mind. But when we probed further, we found, as you can see on the chart, that the hidden costs connected to her hospitalization were actually greater than those that she remembered. So transportation, food, because when the family spends time at the hospital, they're not able to cook at home, they're not able to eat what they've grown, so they have to buy food. Lost income, that adds up very quickly as well. So our average nightly cost was $32.29 in US dollars, which was much higher than she had actually estimated herself. And that's where we see the benefit of a product like Caregiver, Hospital Cash, in that it offers a flat payment per night. So clients can go to any hospital as long as it's registered. They can use the payment for anything from admission to medication to transportation, lost income.
So Kathleen, I mean, this is such an interesting story about Uganda, and that access to health care is, you have this chart so clearly shows the hidden costs versus the actual medical costs. But so on top of that, I'm assuming that there's an understanding and perception of the insurance that could help in this case, and that could be quite varied. So what did you find in these different markets?
That's very true. So awareness and perception of insurance also varies greatly from market to market. And I'll continue to contrast Uganda and Jordan. So if we are just looking at the box, we see the lower left quadrant is negative perception of insurance and low awareness. That means I'm not sure how it works, but everyone I know has a story that it's an added cost, it's a burden. I don't know anyone who's ever had a claim paid. It's a mystery. It's an extra cost that my microfinance institution adds. That would be the credit life insurance, or the car companies sometimes add. If there's a negative, and then we go throughout. So we have, you'll see on the other top right quadrant, if we have very positive perception and high awareness. In the case of Amana, our partner in Morocco, there is a nationalized healthcare system. Our partner Amana has been offering a form of hospital cash, a form of insurance for some time. it works relatively well. Clients believe it's a good thing, and but their confusion is different. They're confused about the benefits that they're receiving. So they know health insurance is good, they know they have it, but they're not sure what exactly they're receiving. So if we compare Uganda, Finance Trust Bank in Uganda, our client, where there's very low understanding of how insurance works in the first place, no awareness of health insurance, and a very negative perception of this is an extra cost burden that institutions place on me, versus Amana, you'll see that, we'll see in a moment that the communication that we used for very similar products was very, very different. So if we flip to the next slide, we'll take a look. This is the brochure, which will also double as a policy document for FTB Uganda. Because there was very low awareness and understanding of insurance, you'll see the lower right portion of the screen that shows the inside panels, the trifold brochure. We start out with what is insurance and how does it work. And these images came out of our research. We actually were realizing how complicated the product, insurance in general, was to describe to clients that we had an illustrator develop some pictures, some examples of how we could explain it, and that resonated so well that we decided that it was worth using, that we should use this to begin with what is insurance and how does it work. Then we go on to the middle panel, what is this product? What is Trust Care Hospital Cash? Very clear, who's covered, when am I covered, what is the benefit, and when am I not covered? The other thing that was very important that we realized, because the claims process to most of the people we spoke to in Uganda was a mystery, it's kind of a black box, you try to settle a claim, you try to make a claim, and it just drags on forever and nothing ever comes of it. We made sure to have very clear, transparent steps on how to claim. So 3 easy steps. You receive your money in a fixed amount of time and you're paid in cash. And so that was the direction that we took for the Ugandan market because of the communication needs of the clients.
Yeah.
Oh, so that, and we had seen that Finance Trust Bank Uganda was on the bottom left quadrant of the prior slide.
Exactly.
So then how did this change with a different institution that had more of the awareness and a more positive perception of insurance?
Right. So if we go to Morocco, our client, our network member Amana in Morocco, their product is called Taysir Amana. And the main points of confusion among their client base were the benefits. They weren't clear on what it was they were receiving. So we didn't have to explain to them how the product worked. We had to explain to them what the benefits were and then how to make a claim. So you'll see on the left, we have several posters. There are posters that are dedicated to each benefit. This is the one poster that kind of explains them all. But if we go clockwise in the visuals, there's a birth benefit, critical illness and hospitalization benefit, and the third image is a sensitive way to communicate funeral benefits, death benefits. We also use icons. We've begun using icons where possible to communicate the most important messages. So moving from the top, on these icons that you'll see in the middle of the screen, moving from the top left, the first one is intended to communicate that the product is included in every loan. Second one, call 24/7. People use landlines in Morocco, so that's a landline phone. Third, the ambulance transportation is included. And fourth, you're paid in cash, you receive your money. We also, because there was confusion about the benefits, and in this particular case there are multiple benefits, we worked with Amana to design more of a kind of surround sound campaign, so to speak, in which we tried to reinforce the basic messages at different points. So there's a sticker that goes onto the loan card, that's attached to the loan card, so that anytime someone has a question, they can easily access the phone number to call. There's also a larger sticker on the bottom of the screen that can be kept at home or placed on a motorcycle, and keychains, so that wherever clients are, if they get sick or in an accident, they can access the number to call to find out if they're covered. So 2 very different means of communication for products that at the end of the day are not so different.
And so, Kathleen, how, very different markets, you had to understand the client needs. What would you say from a marketing perspective is the most important consideration in putting together these materials?
I would say really understanding the needs of the client. So understanding first of all, the financial needs and the insurance needs. So the benefits that a product like hospital cash can offer to the client, then understanding their level of, how much they understand about it, their current perceptions, and what benefits the product can offer to them, and then turning those insights into communication that shows clients the benefits of the product and shows them, of course, you need a call to action, shows them how to access it.
And Fadi, from your perspective in having had the caregiver out for the last 4 years, have your marketing materials evolved at all based off of your work, or have you seen that clients understand because it's the policy and the marketing brochure at the same time?
Actually, no. I think it became familiar to the clients, and they understand it very well. I used to go for field visits to check on the field, to check with the clients themselves. I was beside receiving the feedback from the loan officers. We need to do the spot check ourselves to make sure that our clients are really understanding our materials, our marketing materials, and as long as the product did not really change, we only had 2 editions from the marketing materials, which is mainly the brochure and the roll-ups. We only had 2 versions. The old one that you presented in the presentation, which was there, and the new one that I showed you now. It's a bit maybe pretty more than the old one. The old one, the characters were weird in a way, but we developed a new one in cooperation with the insurance company. They designed, they did the design for it, and we used to ask our clients whether they are understanding what's written there or not. Through also our client satisfaction survey, we have 2 questions related to caregiver and to microinsurance products, just to make sure that they have the full picture, they have the idea, and they are, because the challenge is, since it's a mandatory product, some of our clients in the beginning, especially in the beginning, they are focusing on receiving the check, the disbursement, the loan itself. They are not really focusing on the additional services or added values. But day by day, and because of the word of mouth, when one client in one branch benefit from the caregiver and receive her check, people in the hall start asking her, what is this check for? Then she starts to explain to them the program, and and for our repeated clients, they are really they like the product, and they feel that it's really a good product and it's relevant to them. They can use it, it's accessible, and they start, maybe, in my opinion, they start maybe thinking, and we succeeded in building the insurance culture among our clients, but maybe we're in the beginning of that. And we hope that one day we will reach more understanding. However, we've tried to convey our messages through, even we developed TV commercial and radio advertising to talk about the caregiver and to promote the caregiver. Even or however, it's a mandatory product and it's fun. It's bidden with our loans, but we really developed the TV commercial, and it was broadcasted on the local stations, TV stations and radios, and people liked the idea. One of the, especially for the radio, was talking about the abuse of the product itself. Yeah, we tried to teach them about the importance of not cheating in the claims, because they might lose a lot. And we try to raise their awareness that this product is for you, and it's important to go through the legal process. You don't use to do any fraudulent claim. to not lose the coverage till the end of your loan. So I hope I answered your question.
You know, that's really interesting, and I'm going to get back to you in a moment also with some follow-up on what Microfund for Women is doing. But, you know, we've talked quite a bit about these different markets and kind of compared and contrast the development of marketing materials. Kathleen, can you talk a little bit from the Women's World Banking perspective? You know, we're in early stages in these markets. What's next for microinsurance?
Sure, we are in early stages in several markets, replicating the product, which is exciting to us. We've supported Amana in Morocco, whose materials we just looked at. They are actually launching individual and family coverage network-wide this month, and the communications campaign is rolling out shortly, actually as we speak. In Q2 of this year, Finance Trust Bank in Uganda will be piloting the Trust Care Hospital Cash product in 5 branches with an intention to roll out later in the year. And then we're also working with Lead Foundation in Egypt to prepare to pilot a first-of-its-kind composite credit, life, and hospital cash microinsurance product. And that's scheduled for Q2 of this year.
Great. And then Fadi, I mean, in some ways Microfund for Women's a bit of the grandfather of our microinsurance. What's next for your institution?
What's next? It's a good question. Actually, in 2012 and after we launched the Family Caregiver, it was a voluntary product, as I told you, and unfortunately the take-up ratio was not what we wish to have, and we've stopped offering the Family Caregiver in January 2014. Instead of that, it came to my mind an idea, new idea, how to bundle the, we have 2 microinsurance products. One is the level term credit life and the other one is the hospital cash. And based on the feedback that we received from our clients, the idea was to bundle the 2 products in one product with some changes on the features itself. The main change was that a client with the new product will be eligible to include their entire family for the hospital cash. And for the credit life, it was like a level term credit life, so it's not declining. But the issue was that the feedback from the clients was that why do I need money once I passed away? My husband will take this money and will get married again, and he will bring another wife for my kids. So that was their feedback. We need to feel we need to witness the benefit while we are alive. So as you know, maybe I don't know, as you might know, for the credit life, we have a free service, a free coverage for in case of spouse death. We raised this coverage to the double the amount. So the client, if her husband passes away, she will be eligible to receive double what she used to receive in the current product. And the credit life become declining instead of being a level term. So we will close the debt. We will pay him, or him, the double amount that they used to receive for the spouse death, plus they will be eligible to cover or to include the entire family within the product. Now we are in the final stage in finalizing and doing the fine-tuning. Excuse me, sorry, I'm sorry. They are having fun.
Without you.
Yeah. So now we're in the final stage of the product development, and we're facing some challenges with the single clients without dependents, because the premium will be a bit more than they used to pay for the caregiver and for the credit life for both products. It's almost double. But the issue is with the single without dependents. So when we did the pricing for the product itself, it was like a blended rate where the single woman premium will subsidize the premium from the woman with dependents. And now we're trying to maybe to fix this issue with the insurance company, and we have some maybe MIS limitations, but I believe maybe in March we will launch the new bundled product.
Excellent. And Kathleen, with regards to our work with Microfund for Women, anything new coming up?
There is actually. We have a team in Jordan right now. You might have noticed that there were 4 panelists initially on the opening slides. Yeah. Our fourth, Hillary Nichols, she's there in Jordan with the team conducting research for savings-linked research. Sorry, savings-linked insurance.
Insurance.
Yeah, this product is an insurance product that will allow clients to save small amounts regularly and accumulate lump sums of savings for a long-term goal. We're expected to pilot this product with MFW next year with the research stage now, but we are very much looking forward to testing other types of insurance that are linked not only to credit but also to savings and seeing what benefits we can bring to our clients.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
I want to wrap things up.
If you allow me, just to elaborate, yes. Thank you, Kathleen. About the saving-linked insurance, I don't know if all of audience knows that we're at MFW in Jordan. We are not allowed to offer saving directly to our clients because we are not under the central bank of Jordan, and we're not regulated yet. So this was a way, innovative way actually, to start offering the saving for our clients, which will be linked to a microinsurance product. So as Kathleen mentioned, now we are on the earliest phase. We are doing the market research with the Women's World Banking team. It's not the great team, Selena and Hillary. I'm really glad to work with them, to learn from them. Selena gave me too many lessons that I really need for myself to understand the way how she conduct the research, and I'm really learning from her and from Hillary as well. And I really appreciate the efforts from Women's World Banking to support Microfund for Women in developing this product. Really appreciate it. Thank you, my beloved network.
And I know the Women's World Banking team loves working with you and the rest of the Microfund for Women team. I want to kind of wrap things up here and then open up for some Q&A because I've been seeing some questions come through and I want to have time to get through them all. But I think what we've taken away today is that there are some really fascinating insights about these varied markets and how that then drives the marketing materials to educate clients on a product that can be as complex as insurance. And from the Women's World Banking perspective, we've certainly seen great potential in offering a caregiver product to women. It really provides that safety net for emergencies, and it's one thing, it just takes one major illness, and we've heard this time and time again through all of our research over the years, but that one major illness and a woman has to decapitalize her business, stop paying her children's school fees, and this micro health insurance product, a simple thing like Caregiver, is a product that can really reduce the shock on a family. And I think not only the development of the product is so critical for the clients, but as we've seen today, educating the client through the marketing materials is absolutely critical so that they can fully embrace the benefits that can be had. And Kathleen, I don't know if you have any last points to add as well before we go into the Q&A.
No, I'm actually looking forward to hearing some of the questions. You know, I think our Women's World Banking, some of our main insights are, you know, of course, even though the product is the same, it's critical to begin with research because the clients are different in every country. And even though everyone needs to some degree hospital care coverage, the specifics of those needs differ, the awareness differs, the perception differs, and so understanding the clients is critical from the beginning, and then communicating to them in a way that shows the benefits will make a world of difference. Yeah.
Great, and now I open it up for questions. I see many have started coming through here, so bear with me with just a moment as I start to pull them up. So I see here, and I think this might be an interesting question for Fadi to talk about, but the question is, how are advocates and institutions changing the way they educate and raise awareness to prospective insurers? And I think you probably had a different, interesting perspective given that you have changed insurers through the process of Caregiver. And if you could talk a little bit about that, I think that would be helpful.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Changing, sorry, Karen?
Oh, changing the perspective or raising awareness of insurers. So the importance of a microinsurance product.
Yeah, raising awareness usually starts from the point that I believe it will start in the field. The loan officers should explain the product clearly to the clients themselves. And number two, I'm sorry to say that, but there should be some, let's say, penalties when you are not maybe really honest and you try to cheat. Then you will face blah blah blah. Maybe you will be stopped from the product. This is very important, at least in the beginning, because we need the clients to benefit. We need the maximum number of them to benefit from the product itself, but we can't keep it or leave it open for them because maybe if you pass 2 or 3 fraudulent claims, then you will expect to receive tens, right? So we have to educate them that this product was developed for you based on your needs, and now you have to utilize the product properly, and you have to go through the process. You have to bring the documents, and it took us some time. Another type of awareness that we did in Microfund for Women is developing a TV commercial and a radio ad, which is now on our screens or in all of our branches that are running the whole day, and clients in the hall, while they are waiting for their checks or for their payments, they can see again what is the rationale behind insurance, what is the microinsurance product, and they can listen to the radio ad on the screen also, that to learn about the importance of using the product properly.
And Fadi, what about from the insurance companies that you work with, their perspective? Selling them on the concept of microinsurance, I'm sure has its challenges. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, any conventional insurance will want to do the microinsurance the same way that they used to do the conventional one. And here, I believe it's totally different. The concept here is not the same here. But what we've done with our insurer, we used to have an international insurer, and we faced some problems with the front company that they hired here in Jordan, because they were not allowed maybe to deliver the business directly as an international insurance company. The concept was not there. In the beginning of my work with MFW in 2011, I faced a lot of challenges just to convince them or to change their minds that this is not a conventional insurance. You have to keep it simple. You have to, sometimes you have not, you don't have to be really restricted. You have to give and take. You have to be flexible. But with the other insurance company, we had, let's say, many meetings with them to explain to them. We gave them, it's not like a training, but let's say we did a workshop with them, and we have good relations with the guys who are managing our policy. And at the end, we've succeeded in having a in-house approval for the claims up to 6 nights. That was really, for me, that was a huge step in the product development itself, to have in-house approval up to 6 nights, whereby the insurance company, they pre-approved all of these claims. So, okay, at the end, I've hired 2 pharmacists to do the job and to do the claim processing and to make sure that the claims are okay and no fraudulent claim is paid or settled, because this will put us in disaster. At the end, we're doing 90% of the operations, and they are only handling 10%, because the average hospital stay in Jordan is 3.5 nights. So we're talking about less than 6 nights for most of our claims, which is now processed in-house within Microfund for Women. So at the end, and let's be transparent, the product is very profitable for them, and they are okay. At the end, they will get profit, and the client will benefit, and we at MFW will benefit also. So it's a win-win-win situation, and they really we've succeeded in building the trust among each other. We trust the insurer, they trust us, we trust our clients, and they trust us, and this is really very important, to have a full trust between the 3 components in this process.
That's great. I think that's really helpful for people and for institutions, looking at adapting microinsurance for their market. We have another question here, Kathleen, if you'd like to take, about the idea of, developing communications materials on a low budget. Mm-hmm. And, what are the things to think about and how to construct that?
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, one of the most critical parts of a campaign such as this is communication from staff. And so training your staff and making sure that they understand the product. What we've found, one thing that we found in research, we'll be exposing the product, discussing the product with consumers, and second or third day, it turns out the staff doesn't understand it either, because insurance is so new and different. And so there's no need, there's no requirement for, to spend a lot of money on expensive materials. If you think about the touch points that you have, how often the staff come in contact with your clients, or the clients come in contact with the branch, just use those touch points. You probably, as you saw with Fadi, and then also as we've been replicating the product, we tend to have one piece of paper that doubles as the brochure and the policy document. Where it's appropriate, if we can, we do suggest posters, because they build awareness, and that encourages clients to ask. Also, it builds awareness, but also may encourage them to ask questions of the staff and get more information. And so I don't think, we don't see this as something that requires money. It requires, very focused training of staff, and also if there are ways to reinforce the benefits and find ways to kind of incentivize or motivate staff to have regular conversations with clients about the insurance. And that's not easy. That's not easy. So one thing that we are trying in Morocco with Amana is to have staff attach a sticker to the loan card maybe in the 2nd or 3rd month of the loan. So it's another reason to kind of bring up the fact that they have insurance. So trying to find ways to engineer conversations or questions between staff and clients. But that's really the key. I hope that answers the question. Yeah.
And I think a follow-on, there was another question about this also, is that it can be a culture shift for the institution itself to be offering this type of product. And you know, that training, how does that take into account, you know, the culture change, and how do you shift that?
I mean, I think part of the culture change is the fact that, at least in the cases of the products that we're discussing, it's a mandatory product. So every client who takes a loan from the institutions we're working with will receive the coverage. And what that means is that staff now have to discuss the coverage and discuss the products, but they may or may not be incentivized for it. And so looking into whether incentives that may or may not make sense, or perhaps penalties, or perhaps rewards for staff for the percentage of correctly filed claims, percentage of claims ratios and percentage of correctly filed claims per branch. You can have contests. I mean, it's really, you know, it is important to find a way to motivate the staff and kind of somehow tie it to either incentives or penalties without adding too much cost, to ensure that they are communicating the product. And also showing them the benefits. I mean, it's usually a good product and, you know, a useful product in the eyes of the staff as well, because loan officers often also don't have any, you know, comprehensive health care in the markets where we are. And so they're, you know, often asking if they can have the product, which is a good thing. And so bringing them on board is important.
Mm-hmm. Fadi, do you have anything to add on that point in the kind of culture change and the training for a Microfund for women and their experience?
Yeah, but only I want to elaborate on what Kathleen said. We used to award the loan officers who, one day I was in one of our rural branches in Al Tafila Governorate in the southern part of Jordan, and I was there where the loan officer does not know me in personal. So I was standing away, and she was explaining the product for the clients that who were there to receive the checks. And I saw that she's explaining the product in a way which is even better than if I want to do that. I gave her name to the management here, and on the quarter meeting I asked her to come to the stage and to explain the product and to train the loan officers on the product itself, and she was awarded in front of all of them just to motivate them. This is the right way, how we really need you to explain the product for your client. And we are monitoring the performance of the caregiver, the KPIs and all of this stuff. And sometimes we find that this loan officer used to send us, let's say, 100 claim a month or 20, 30, and this loan officer did not file any claim through his clients, or one or two. We used to visit the branch, to sit with the loan officer, to ask him to explain the product for us. Maybe there's something wrong with him, maybe with his perception, maybe his clients are healthy, all of them are healthy, they don't access hospitals, but we have to find out what's wrong and what's good.
And Fadi, there's also interest here, questions coming through about talking a little bit more about savings-linked insurance and what that can potentially do. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, actually,
early stages.
It's in very early stages, and the product prototype is not really there. So we are only doing the market research. Based on the market research, we will come up with the prototype design for the product, and again we will go to the clients to test the prototype, whether they like it or not. But I believe at the end it will be a insurance policy, life insurance policy with a saving plan. I don't know the features, and as well maybe women's world banking team, they don't know the features yet, but we are really gathering some data, some information from the qualitative research that's taking place now in these days and for 2 weeks. Maybe Eamon, again, the actuarial, maybe will have his input. Next week he will come here and he will check the findings, and he will maybe start helping us in thinking of the prototype of the design. But at the end, as I told you, I believe it will be a life insurance maybe with a saving plan for the clients. This is what I can see, and this is all, but I really don't have more details on that.
Great. We are coming up on the hour, and I know we have not gotten through all the questions, but we will try and compile them all and answer them for our blog. I do want to say a very special thank you not only to our panelists today, Fadi and Amman Jordan from Microfund for Women, and Kathleen here in New York with Women's World Banking, but I'd also like to say a special thank you to AFD, our funder for our microinsurance projects in Morocco and Egypt and Uganda. We are very appreciative of your support, and we are very appreciative that we have the opportunity today to share this information with all of you. If you could all take just a moment and answer our survey, we would greatly appreciate that as well. We're always trying to find ways to improve and share our information in new ways, so please take a moment to fill out the survey. I'd also like to highlight that on a completely different topic, but we are participating in a webinar this Thursday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time with Microlinks on agency banking, featuring our partner on the ground there, NBS in Malawi. And so a very different type of model we'll be discussing, but it will also showcase a different type of our work from Women's World Banking. So thank you very much to everyone today for joining us. We greatly appreciate your participation, and please let us know if there are any more questions on marketing microinsurance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Fadi.